Hello, thanks for watching Attic to Basement Estate Cleanouts. I promised you last week a messy house, and this first one is one of the worst. The photos are mostly of the floors and how filthy the carpets and the parquet floor were. I just can't imagine living in a place with sticky, dirty carpeting that probably smelled and not having it replaced. This was a walk-up garden apartment in Bethesda, Maryland. It was a condo building and was appraised at $280,000 in 2008. I don't know what it sold for. One of the two bedrooms was very full. We could get the door open, but we couldn't walk into the room. We had to pull out boxes and things into the hallway until we had enough space in the room to stand there and go through each box. At one time, the woman had been an aviator and had lots of vintage books on aviation. There were 3 helpers working with me over 7 days. The first day, all 3 were there, and we worked for 5 hours, cleaning out the kitchen, bathroom, front hall, living, and dining rooms. The next day, one of my helpers met with college hunks hauling junk for 2 hours to get rid of the trash and bags we filled the first day. And then she left. That was all the work that was done that day. After 3 more days of work, we all met college hunks hauling junk, and they loaded 3 loads of trash, and the auction crew picked up what we had packed for Associated Auctioneers. Here are the pictures. The next home was in Northwest Washington, D.C., in an older high-rise building. A woman who owned a paralegal service in the District of Columbia put me in touch with a family member in Florida that was the guardian of the man who had lived in the apartment. The guardian met me at the assessment, hired me, and the next week I went to work with 2 helpers over the next 8 days. I had key cards that I needed to get into the locked building. The man had worked for a school and was the official photographer, along with other duties. He had boxes and boxes of slides and photos and 38mm movies. The school sent someone over on 2 days to pick through what they wanted to keep for the school archives. You'll see from the photos why this was not an easy task. The first day I worked on cleaning out a desk, while one helper of mine sorted through the kitchen and another worked on bagging up clothing for charity. The second day we worked 5.5 hours bagging up trash before college hunks hauling junk came to take away a load of trash. A friend of the man came to pick up a bass violin. I even met some family members of the owner on a Sunday for 2.5 hours. They probably were there from Florida because I didn't usually work on weekends unless there were extenuating circumstances, like a deadline on an apartment to be out by the end of the month, and it was almost the final day. A week later, I met with the school archivist again for an hour. The final day was meeting Associated Auctioneers and college hunks hauling junk who carried away 1.5 loads of trash. My helper was there longer than I was that day, working with the auction company and the trash haulers, and then she swept the wood floors of the apartment and returned the keys that opened the apartment and the key card for the main door of the building. The next house was in Silver Spring, Maryland by Forest Glen Road. There is a metro stop at Forest Glen, and most of the houses were built in the 1940s. It's a desirable neighborhood. This was a small house of only 986 square feet, and it sold for $290,000 in 2008, and now is worth $413,000. Someone made a good investment. The attorney for this job up front asked if I could wait to be paid until after the house was sold, as there was not enough money in the bank to pay my invoice. By this time I could do this, especially since it was a small house where I worked for 4 hours, a helper worked for 3.5 hours, all on the same day, and Associated Auctioneers and junk to the dump. The trash hauler came. It wasn't a hoarder's house, just general clutter. and the auction company owner may have helped box things up, as some of his men carried out the furniture. There were 2 antique ice cupboards, miniature railroad cars, and antique calendars, along with dolls and a tiny shoe collection. Thanks for watching. I hope you will subscribe now. Next week, I will be interviewing a friend who had her own business as a daily money manager in Maryland. Also check out my Facebook page, 800 Houses, 800 Jobs, for more photos taken at these homes.